everyone missed the most important detail in the new Stranger Things 5 footage. At the junkyard training scene, Eleven does something impossible with her previous power level. This isn't just basic practice, it's proof Eleven has 3 secret new abilities. And once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. Eleven can fly now, and believe me when I say it's about time, not levitate anymore. Not just hover a few feet off the ground like she did in Season 2, she's flying for real this time, and trust me, it's crazy. Season 2 gave us a hunch about this ability during the gate closure sequence. Eleven unintentionally floated a few feet in the air with energy crackling around her as she forced that dimensional tier closed. We saw her hover there, completely motionless except for the effort showing on her face. That scene showed us she could defy gravity when channeling her psychic powers. However, she didn't do this on purpose. Well, the difference now is that she's learned to weaponize that ability and turn it into an actual skill she can now control. The recent junkyard training clip gave us our first glimpse of this. Watch how she pushes herself over that bus in a single bound. That's not jumping. That's not even using telekinesis to push herself off the ground. Hopper isn't teaching her parkour for fun. He's teaching her how to land when she's moving at speeds and heights that would break her bones if she hit wrong. Let's think about what her flight means for the team. The Demogorgons have always had the advantage of surprise, appearing from walls and ceilings, attacking from unexpected angles. Vecna himself operates in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making him nearly impossible to pin down. Eleven spent 4 seasons fighting threats that could move in ways she couldn't match, but not anymore. Season 5 puts her on equal footing, giving her 3D battlefield awareness. In simple terms, she can now beat up enemies from any direction and even retreat to positions they can't reach. Meanwhile, this completes the Dungeons & Dragons reference, possibly placing Eleven as Sorcerer in Season 5. A Sorcerer is born with power flowing through her veins. The Duffer Brothers may change Eleven's character from Mage to Sorcerer to signal that her abilities have gone from training to reaching the realm of supernatural madness. And what do high-level sorcerers do in D&D? They fly. They manipulate reality itself. They become untouchable forces of nature, just like Vecna, but super chill and not so evil. But here's where it gets really interesting. Eleven's abilities to fly requires an entirely different relationship with her powers than anything she's done before. Crushing objects, throwing people, closing gates, these all involve projecting force outward onto external targets. To fly, she needs to turn those powers inward and use telekinesis on her own body. That's real hard for a teen who's almost always bleeding from her nose. Still, the fact that she's mastered basic aerial moves after only 1 year of training shows her power reaching heights we never saw coming. Season 5 will push this ability to its limits. Vecna won't just fight her on flat ground in convenient locations. He'll drag the battle into the upside down, force her to places where gravity itself might not work, test whether her flight operates the same way in a dimension that doesn't follow normal physics. The military with their anti-Eleven weapons will try to ground her too, using what might be sonar emitters to send her crashing down from whatever height she's reached. Her ability to fly might save her life a dozen times, or get her killed once if she's not careful about when and where she takes to the air. In other words, flight is nice, but flight could be bad. Before we go on, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like so you never miss a breakdown like this. Meanwhile, thanks to Hopper's obstacle course and her new ability to fly, Eleven might have a good chance of beating both Vecna and the anti-Eleven military. However, she has to be precise this time. Raw strength isn't everything. To help with this, the Duffer Brothers decided juicing her up to be more accurate, and I mean controlled destruction. Raw strength has never been Eleven's problem. She's the same mutant who's been stopping hearts and flipping vehicles since she was 12. I know. 11 being 12 is funny, but then, the real limitation was always how long she could use her powers before she got all bloody and collapsed unconscious. Of course, the Duffer Brothers amped her for this in Season 5. The junkyard training reveals everything about her new moves. Here we see her crush multiple pumpkin heads, perform complex parkour movements, demonstrate her flight capabilities. Until the end, her nose is completely clean. No blood, not even a single stain. That's mad improvement. Blowing up those pumpkins would have hospitalized her back in Season 1. Remember Hawkins Middle School in the first season? 11 killed those 7 agents to save her friends, and the effort was so extreme she bled from her nose and passed out completely. Using her powers on multiple human targets at once drained her so much that she can't move until she recovers. Fast forward to Season 5 and she's training to eliminate groups of soldiers without breaking. Actually, this evolution started out in Season 4 during her memory recovery sequences in the Nevada facility. Dr. Brenner put her through scenarios designed to rebuild her powers from nothing after the Mind Flayer stripped them away at the end of Season 3. We saw her struggle with the most basic exercises at first, barely able to move a ball or lift a small object. But something interesting happened as those memories unlocked. Each revelation about her past didn't just restore her abilities, it enhanced them. She wasn't climbing back to her previous peak, she was surpassing it, accessing power she possessed all along, but couldn't reach because trauma kept it locked away. The Nevada sequences showed us 11 as a child manipulating multiple objects and performing feats that even impressed the Hawkins lab staff. staff. Then Vecna convinced her to remove Soteria from his neck, and she witnessed his massacre of everyone in the facility. That guilt became a mind block, preventing her from reaching full potential. She spent years unconsciously holding back, afraid of what she might do if she let herself become too powerful. Season 5. 11 has worked through enough of that trauma to operate without those mental blocks. She's accepted what she is and what she's capable of, and now she's weaponized it with real crazy precision. Now, the Scarecrow pumpkin targets in the junkyard aren't random practice dummies. Their clothing matters, green button-up long sleeves, camo patterns. These were military personnel, the Wolfpack Task Force, led by Dr. K, who will be hunting 11 across Hawkins in Season 5. 11 is preparing to go through an entire army of soldiers equipped with tech specifically designed to counter her abilities. That requires precision that her younger self never had. In the Season 5 trailer, we see 11 infiltrate a heavily fortified spot crawling with armed soldiers and defensive systems, and she's not bulldozing her way through. She's being selective about when to use her powers, choosing specific targets that matter, disabling threats efficiently rather than engaging everything that moves. That's the behavior of someone who's learned that lasting the entire fight matters more than dominating the opening minutes. In Season 1, when she flipped the van to save her friends, everything nearby shook from the telekinetic shockwave. In Season 5, she'll be able to pop a single skull in a crowded room without disturbing the person standing next to her victim. That's the kind of accuracy that makes her terrifying to face. You can't hide in a crowd. You can't even use hostages as shields. If she wants you specifically, distance and obstacles won't save you. So what does this mean? Well, Vecna can't just throw Demogorgons at her anymore. Even if he sends hundreds of them after her, nothing will happen. She'll carve through them, conserve her energy, and pick them apart one by one without exhausting herself. Same goes to the military folks. They can't rely on sustained engagement to wear her down. Even Vecna himself, with all his supernatural might, has to respect that she can operate at peak capacity throughout an extended battle instead of fading after the first major exchange. But there is a sad part. This is 11 becoming what Brenner always wanted, a weapon that doesn't break. The difference, though, is she's chosen this path for herself, training not to serve some government agenda, but to protect the people she loves and end the upside-down threat permanently. Speaking of serving the government, 11 always had an unbreakable mind. But now, it's even crazier as she's got mental powers. I would have said mind control, but I think mental powers just play it safe and keep it broad. The junkyard training doesn't show you this, but 11's mental powers have become way more dangerous. We're talking powers that work on perception in ways that make them nearly impossible to defend against. Season 4 dropped hints about this throughout the Nevada sequences. When 11 recovered her memories, she was experiencing psychic shots left behind by trauma. You might remember that scene where she was looking through the eyes of her past self. That's not normal memory recall. That's reading information encoded in locations and objects through supernatural means. If she can do that with her own history, what stops her from doing it with other people? Maybe Vecna? The Duffer Brothers have been building this since Season 1. 11 could find people just by concentrating on their photograph or touching an object they'd handled. She tracked down Russian agents, located Will in the Upside Down, and found Barb's body all in Season 1. Trust me, these weren't flukes. Season 5 circumstances are exactly right. Vecna moves as a mental threat, trapping victims in nightmares made from their guilt and trauma before killing them. Defeating him might require 11 to fight him on that same battlefield, entering minds and manipulating thoughts. This could also be the only way she could save her friends, by blocking their heads from Vecna. We know she has been training physically, but what if she's also been training psychically, developing defenses and attacks that work in mental spaces rather than physically? Think about what her psychic powers mean for Season 5. The military hunting 11 relies on communication and tactical planning. What happens if she reads their commander's mind, knows their battle plans before they execute them, and anticipates every move they make? What if she can project confusion into their groups, make them see threats that aren't even there, and turn their own troops against each other? I don't know about you, but I'd love to see that. As for Vecna, 11 might do a lot more than just resist his attacks. She could invade his consciousness, disrupt his connection to the Mind Flayer, and even trap him in his own nightmare the way he's done to so many others. The best part involves Will Byers. We know Will retains his connection to the Upside Down, can sense when Vecna's near, and still feels the presence of the Mind Flayer. That connection makes him vulnerable to possession, but it also makes him a potential asset if someone could properly interpret what he's sensing. 11's psychic abilities might let her link with Will's consciousness, see through his connection into the Upside Down itself, and use him as a window into Vecna's head. This is a totally different kind of power than brute force telekinesis. Mental abilities are the kind of threat that makes opponents pissed because they can't see it coming. Is that thought really yours, or did someone plant it there? Are your memories accurate, or have they been altered? Can you trust your own perception when someone with 11's abilities is in the area? That adds layers to Season 5's fights that previous seasons couldn't explore. In fact, we might get an Inception-themed episode in this new season. Besides that, psychic powers come with risks physical powers don't carry. When 11 enters someone else's mind, she's vulnerable to what she might find there. Vecna's consciousness is a cesspool of hatred and centuries of accumulated cruelty and megalomania. Diving into that without proper protection could corrupt her and trap her in his mental space the way he trapped Max and Chrissy and his other victims. The deeper she goes into him, the more she risks losing herself in the process. We've seen hints of this before. Remember when Eleven channeled the Demogorgon's perception in Season 1? She briefly got stuck in its consciousness, experiencing its hunger and predatory instincts. When she entered Billy's memories in Season 3, she witnessed his abuse and pain. Let's now imagine her doing that with Vecna, experiencing even a fraction of what drives him. That's not something you come back from unchanged. And for our dear Eleven, I really don't wish that. Season 5 will test whether Eleven's psychic powers can match her telekinetic power. She's proven she can break things, move things, kill things with her mind. Now she needs to prove that she can withstand having her mind invaded in return. Her training with Hopper will help her, but how far can it go? Let's talk about the final prep. That junkyard is Hopper's love letter to his daughter, his way of preparing her for the fight that might take her away from him forever. Every obstacle represents something he's afraid she'll face, and Eleven knows it. You can see it in how seriously she takes each run through the course, and how she refuses to stop until she's perfect. Joyce standing beside Hopper matters more than we realize. She's not Eleven's biological mother and didn't raise her from birth. In fact, she came into her life relatively recently. But Joyce claimed Eleven as her daughter, raised her in California while Hopper was presumed dead, and gave her the normal family life she'd never had. Having both of them there watching her train represents the family Eleven fought so hard to deserve. The year between seasons gave Eleven time she never had. Time to train instead of improvising desperately during life or death situation. Time to understand her powers as tools she controls rather than reflexes that control her. That year of peace, even knowing war was coming, might have done more for her development than all 4 previous seasons combined. She's not reacting anymore, she's planning. Hopper's military background shows in how he created that course. He's not teaching her tricks or flashy moves. He teaches her how to move efficiently, conserve energy, and position herself tactically. If she's gonna fight Vecna in the military, she'll need these. The parkour element deserves special attention. Hopper is teaching her to flow through hostile environments using her entire body as a weapon. In parkour, we call it the art of movement, the ability to go over any terrain efficiently regardless of obstacles. For someone with crazy powers, adding that kind of mobility creates a fighter who's nearly impossible to pin down. She can use her telekinesis for big moves while using parkour for everything else, conserving her psychic powers for moments when it truly matters. But Joyce is memorizing everything in the training. She's writing down every ability Eleven demonstrates and every new skill she acquires. Joyce is doing what mothers do, cataloging her daughter's capabilities so she can understand what Eleven's up against and how to help her. Just so you know, that's the woman who communicated with her son through Christmas lights, traveled to Russia to rescue Hopper, and spent years fighting supernatural threats with nothing but determination and love. She's not standing there helpless. She's gathering intelligence, preparing to support Eleven however she can when the final battle comes. By now, we know that this training paid off. In the Season 5 trailer, we see Eleven move through that military facility with confidence. She knows exactly how high she can jump, precisely how much force she needs to crush a skull, and exactly how long she can fight before she gets too tired. Trust me, that's way more than just luck. Season 5 won't give her enough time to figure things out as she goes. Vecna isn't sleeping in a cave waiting for her to catch up. The military's not showing mercy because she's still learning. Either she's ready now, or people die. When she stands alone against Vecna in the final clash, the question won't exactly be whether she's powerful enough. It will be whether this fight requires something else entirely, something she might not have. For now, let's just wait till the new season comes out.